So, Caitlyn Clark's Instagram story dropped and instantly set off a frenzy. Some fans took it as a hint, a comeback signal that maybe, just maybe, she'd return deeper into the playoffs. Others read it as pure frustration, Clark firing a subtle shot at the Fever organization for shelving her season too early. But the loudest reaction? A wave of fans and analysts declaring, this is it. The moment where Caitlyn skips the downtime and steps directly into Unrivaled, the idea spread fast. After being forced to sit for months, Clark would naturally be craving playing time. And to be fair, there are plenty of reasons she could do it and plenty of people who would love to see it happen. But here's the truth.
No way. Not this time.
She's not doing it. And the reason she won't and why she's far more likely to choose another path is actually sitting right under our noses. This is a short video, so stick around until the end. You'll walk away relieved that Caitlyn Clark isn't jumping into Unrivaled, and even more excited about what comes next. Because truthfully, what she's more likely to do is way better. But first, hit that like button if you believe Caitlyn will step on the court again before the 2026 WNBA season. Alright, let's break down the logic for Caitlyn Clark playing in Unrivaled.
Now, how could an injury like this be prevented? Believe it or not, one way could actually be playing in Unrivaled. And not because Unrivaled is fun to watch, just because Unrivaled is an actual development league and it could get her into game shape so that when she does go into the WNBA, there isn't as much of like a shock about getting in and playing against all the competitors because, you know, she's definitely a target out there.
On the surface, the Unrivaled idea does make sense. There's no way Caitlyn Clark heads into next season, whenever that even begins, completely cold. 8, maybe 9 months without competitive basketball? That's just not realistic. Last year, the long break may have helped her mentally reset, but from a conditioning standpoint, from a rhythm standpoint, she's going to need something to keep sharp, and Unrivaled does check a lot of boxes. It's short-term. It's centralized in a single location. It runs only a few months. And the payout? Potentially massive, especially now that Unrivaled just closed a B-round funding at a jaw-dropping $340 million valuation. That's not small-time money, that's we're ready to make a splash money. With that kind of cash sitting on the table, it's hard not to imagine them throwing a serious bag at Caitlyn Clark.
Now, maybe they didn't have it last year, but now they have deep enough pockets. They have a well that they could go to, reach in that well, pull out a big bag of money, and finally approach the big dog with a real contract. Finally approach the big dog with a real offer. Yeah, that 1 million, 2 million, 5%, that's nothing compared to what they're going to offer CC now.
And honestly, if there's no CBA in place, I do think Unrivaled makes a play for Caitlyn. Just picture it, if they land her and let the Clark effect take over, ratings skyrocket, sponsors flood in, revenues explode, and suddenly Unrivaled looks like a billion-dollar league. One that, if it ever flipped to 5-on-5, could actually compete with the WNBA. Remember, analysts estimated Caitlyn alone was worth $1 billion to the WNBA this season if healthy. And right now, the entire league is valued at just $3.5 billion, only that high because team values more than doubled after Caitlyn arrived. So yeah, Unrivaled with Caitlyn Clark? We're talking full arenas, not that Colorado bubble look from last year. We're talking massive paydays and serious equity, and don't forget, she already turned down millions from Ice Cube's Big Three. So you know, the number here would have to be enormous, but here's where the fantasy ends. Because as tempting as this sounds, Caitlyn Clark is not going to play in Unrivaled. And here's why. First, it's 3-on-3. That format is brutal on the body. Last season, players were dropping left and right. Some teams even had to forfeit games because of injuries. Sure, it builds cardio, but the risk far outweighs the reward. Second, it's the same cast of characters who roughed her up in the WNBA. You really think those players are suddenly going to protect Caitlyn just because they've got equity in the league? Not a chance. Third, the CBA mess. Make no mistake, Unrivaled is part of those negotiations. The WNBA does not want its players jumping over there. And with Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier playing this awkward double role, running Unrivaled while also representing the players' union in talks, that's a massive conflict of interest. Caitlyn's not touching that with a 10-foot pole forth branding. Caitlyn Clark's entire brand is built on prestige, championships, and playing at the highest level. No gimmicks, no sideshows. She literally turned down a 3-on-3 Olympic spot, the biggest stage in sports. And sure, some said it was about fatigue after the non-stop grind from college to the WNBA. But let's be real, if she'd been offered a 5-on-5 Team USA spot, she'd have taken it in a heartbeat. She didn't want the sideshow. That's the exact same logic here. Playing in Unrivaled would dilute her brand, which brings us to the real story. And this is where things get interesting because the branding piece is the key. Connect the dots and you'll see what Caitlyn is actually more likely to do instead. Let's talk about Nike. Finally, Nike got off their heels and launched her signature logo. All signs point to a shoe release in May 2026, right as the WNBA season tips off. Now, I haven't loved how slow Nike has been with her rollout. They clearly felt pressure to let AJA Wilson's shoe sell first and avoid embarrassing her by dropping Caitlyn's right after. But now? The runway is clear. Nike can and will go all in on Caitlyn, and remember, Caitlyn Clark isn't just an Iowa icon or a WNBA star. She's a global brand. And Nike is built for global stars. So what's the perfect way to ramp up Caitlyn Clark fever during the offseason? Europe. 5-on-5 basketball at the highest level. Teams stacked with WNBA All-Stars. Fenerbahce alone has featured Gabby Williams, Jonquil Jones, Emma Meesman, and Dominique Melona. No scrubs, picture it, Nike plastering Caitlyn Clark billboards across Europe. Caitlyn was here campaigns in every city she plays. On the court, she's getting representatives, staying in rhythm and building hype for her WNBA return. It's clean. It avoids the CBA mess. It's prestigious. And it fits perfectly with Nike's global marketing machine. Think about it, Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia. Messi in Miami. Beckham in LA. Caitlyn wouldn't hit that exact paycheck, but the model is the same. Take your brand global, then bring the hype back home, and if you're the WNBA? That's the dream. A healthy Caitlyn Clark, now an even bigger global star, launching her signature shoe right as the season tips off. More eyeballs on the W, not just from the US but from across the world. Now there's still one more angle here, one that could be even bigger and better.
I still think the Caitlyn Clark Tour, the Caitlyn Clark World Tour, might be the best option, as in, she plays 5v5, she brings a team of 12 WNBA players, and they do 2 3-week tours, which means they might get in 3 weeks, 21 days, they play 6 games. They play a game every 3 days in different cities around Europe, and then they take a break, then they do a tour of Australia and China. They play against all the top EuroLeague teams. They play against all the top teams in the NBL and all the top teams in the WCBA.
This path is even more niche, even more on brand. Something Caitlyn would fully own, fully control, and something that once again would take her brand to another level. Because let's be honest, it's all anyone would talk about. Remember when Caitlyn squared off against that Brazilian team in the preseason, and 1.3 million people tuned in to watch an exhibition game? That's the Caitlyn effect. Fans would line up, pay real money, and stream worldwide just to watch her play, and that's the point. She doesn't need Unrivaled. She doesn't even need Europe if she doesn't want it. She's got the brand equity to create whatever she wants, even if that means just a handful of exhibitions, her games on her terms, without committing to an entire season. So when you step back and look at her decisions, her brand, and the facts in front of us, the Unrivaled fantasy ends right here. It's not happening, but now I want to hear from you. Do you agree? Do you think Caitlyn might shock us, or did I miss something? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Either way, one thing feels inevitable. We're getting Caitlyn Clark basketball in early 2026.